10,000 more breakfasts to go. 14 million seconds of living this away. And I guess it's time I started to pray them bars away.
Lee Hazlewood, number 23. Yeah. For me, it all started with this album, Cowboy in Sweden, and it was the soundtrack to the Swedish TV show with the same name, directed by the Swedish director Torbjörn Axelman. My mother saw the TV show when she was a teenager back in 1970 and bought the album. That's always been viewed as an obscure curiosity among the Lee Hazlewood collectors worldwide. But in Sweden it was a great success. It sold very well, and was probably one reason why Lee Hazlewood decided to move to Sweden during the 1970s. And he lived here for, well, major part of the 70s. He started as a songwriter and producer, and produced hit records with Dwayne Eddy, among others, Dance with the Guitar Man, and wrote hit songs from, well, Nancy Sinatra, among others. I mean, these boots were made for walking, and these boats were made for sailing. That didn't become a hit. So, yeah. He also made a name for himself with his deep personal singing voice. He also had his own record company, LHI Records, Lee Hazlewood Industries, I think, during the late 60s and early 70s. In the late 60s, he was probably the most sought after 40-year-old artist of the pop industry. Well, anyway, back to Cowboy in Sweden. It's the album that most Swedish people know of when they speak about Lee Hazlewood, where he's joined by Susie Jane Hokum and a sweet and talented Swedish singer Nina Lisell, of which I have another record here just to show you if you don't remember what she looked like. Nina Lisell, there, her first single from 1967. Yeah, anyway, in the TV show I know that George Baker's Selection performed their hit Little Green Bag, of later Reservoir Dogs fame. But that's not included on the album. But I've seen some clips on YouTube from the TV show, but I haven't seen the whole of it, all of it. And I'm too young to have seen it on TV when it was broadcast. So I don't have any thoughts about the show. But this album is superb. And, well, of course I grew up with it, so I learned to love it. But I still think that all the songs are of top quality. Lee Hazlewood's popularity here continued during the 70s, when he seemed a bit of a forgotten artist in the rest of the world. He recorded several albums in Sweden during his Swedish period, and they are now highly sought after among the international Lee Hazlewood collectors, because even if they sold quite well in Sweden is a small country, so they weren't million sellers, so they are fairly hard to get outside Sweden today. He had a bit of a revival the last years before his death in 2007. He recorded the great album Cake or Death, named after the famous Eddie Izzard skit, and several of his earlier albums have been reissued after his death. I'll include it with this compilation album that I've got here too, the LHI years. And this was issued by Lights in the Attic a couple of years ago. So, place number 23, we got deep voice Lee Hazlewood.